Hi, Kat here for Lightwave Digital. We're going to be continuing on our subject of subpatch modeling techniques and a little bit of the theory behind it. And we're going to work with a couple of tools in this to demonstrate some concepts. Let's go and create a box. Okay, nothing crazy. We always start with boxes, it seems, but the geometry can quickly advance and turn into something very nice very, very quickly, depending on what we're doing and what our end goal is. Now, I want to create something that looks kind of like a knob or a radio dial that would have been on an old car or something similar. So I can start with a little box if I want to and start to create slices. We're going to hit Shift K, Shift K, holding the Control key down just so I can cut into the edges of this thing in one of the viewports. Shift K. Okay. Shift K. Give ourselves some cuts at the edges, and we're going to hit Tab just to enable it. Okay, there we go. Nothing too crazy, nothing too special. I'm going to give this a little bit more width or depth on one axis though, just to make sure that it's in the right spot. And I'm going to enter and I'm going to center it. All right. And now comes the fun part where I'm going to take this polygon and we're going to give this a little bit more of an interesting shape. I'm just going to hit B for bevel, and I'm going to push it on a particular axis with the control down, and I'm going to drop the tool by hitting B and then reselecting again, or just continuing to double tap B and then moving it like so. So now I've got something that's got a little bit of an edge to it, but this is all fine and dandy. But I think, for my purposes, maybe this isn't a radio knob. Maybe this is something else. Maybe this is a control slider on a panel or a mix board or something like that. Who knows? Idea though is we're going to demonstrate a tool here that's going to be really, really handy for you whenever you're working with models where you have to bridge or connect joints and make one model like this into another using a copy of itself. So let's take this and go to multiply, and we're going to go mirror. I'm going to grab this tool and I'm just going to place it where I want to more or less have that mirror take place, and I'm going to drag it off to the side. Now, in the viewport, I'd have to zoom out a little bit to see where I placed it, but this is what I want because I want to basically join these two together. So let's hit enter. Okay. And now I want to connect this polygon with this polygon. So down here you'll see something called connect. Now that may be the obvious choice, but really what we want is another tool called bridge. It is under the construct tab. And you can see that it's bridged those two polygons together, effectively deleting the one and then creating another piece of geometry in between those two places. Very handy. Now I'm going to undo that just for a moment, because let's say I want this and we're going to mirror it in a different direction. Just undo that for a second. And we'll take this one and use a different viewport to mirror it. And we'll just move it off to the side. Pop it down here. Now, the bridge tool will work basically between any two polygons as long as they are the same amount of total points. So let's select them, just holding down the shift key and go bridge. And you can see that we've now bridged those two items like so. Let's have a little bit more fun with this. We're just doing an exercise basically here. So I'll take a copy of this, Control C, Control V. It's directly on top, so we need to make sure that that selection is maintained. And we'll put this back to somewhere like this. And now we can bridge these two. Bump. Okay, cool. And let's bring these two together. Hit bridge. And now we've got that working for us. Now, if this wasn't exactly what we wanted because it's not straight, we've got a couple of choices there to line these things up. But ultimately, if you're doing some freeform modeling or you want to line things up manually, you can, just holding control keys, the grid snap on. Say I want to extend this a little bit. There we go. And if these gaps are not what you like, you can, at any point in time, if you've done everything correctly, you should be able to have a mesh that is maintained as quads. You have no amount of more than 4-point vertices or polygons, and your face count should be an even number. We can add more geometry at any point in time, so we can smooth out, say, any of these gaps so they don't seem so stretchy. Okay. Let's hit tab again. Here we've got a little piece of a space station or a mechanical arm or something, and it really only took a few operations, and our polygon count is maintained at a very low rate. Again, as I explained in a previous video, if you want to change the displayed subdivision level, right now it's at 6. If you drop that to 3, you can see the slight change there. Subpatch division 1. Try to match this to something that makes sense for what you would render it at or display it in Lightwave layout. But this will give you a really good preview of what it will look like once you do get it over to layout and start animating or surfacing or whatever it might be. Let's add a couple pieces more geometry to this. Let's select one of these top pieces here. Again, with the B for bevel, we're just going to shrink that in, and we'll shove it off in one direction. Looks a little bit wonky, so let's deselect it. Let's tab and cut a slice there. Shift K, cut a slice there. And we could probably use some additional geometry going this way. So let's do that now. Shift K, enter, Shift K, enter, and we can hit tab again. And depending on what we're doing, like I'm just free flow modeling here, just give me some geometry so you can see how these tools behave, both in the regular polygonal display mode or in subpatch editing mode. So again, we need to do a little cut here to keep it from distorting too much. And there we go. Great stuff. Now you can connect objects to objects inside of themselves very easily. If we've got 4 points here, we've got 4 points over here. So let's cut this tower right there. Shift K again, roughly lining up with whatever this was. I'm not being clean here. I'm just demonstrating how these tools can work. And let's take this, for example, and we'll select this one over here. Boom, because they have 4 points. They're pretty much lined up. We can bridge them, and poof, they will connect. Now, we obviously would probably want some additional geometry in there. So undoing that, let's just hit B to bevel. Actually, we'll make sure that we're not in subpatch mode. So we'll untab that for a second. Just select this here, select this one over here, and we're going to just add a little bit of geometry. Okay. And then we can run the connect tool, or the bridge tool. Now we've got something that's a little bit more aligned. Add a couple cuts in there. And let's hit tab, and away we go. Now we've got a bridge piece in there. Of course, if this isn't lining up, or we want to make a change here, let's just go to points. Let's move these up. So level it out. Go with that. If you ever get into a situation like this where you don't have everything quite even, just delete select the ones that are being problematic. Let's select this section here, hit H, and control, and then down or up with your mouse. Just make sure that you're completely aligned. Hit enter, and we may need to make sure that this is the same, but we'll do this first. Let's go select these, hit H, hold control over one of those, and scale it so that it squashes it down, and they will all end up on a perfect line. Okay. Let's make sure this part is perfectly aligned. So let's go and select these in a loop. And I didn't quite do it, so I'll have to do a manual selection. No big deal, no problem. Just go all the way down, make sure that we've got everybody. Same thing, H, but this time we're going to hit control and we're going to go left to right. So everything is squashed out. Now I missed a part up here, so we'll undo that. Hit T so you can drop that tool, and T again to drop the transform tool, and hit H again, and we'll just squash that back to where it was. So it all lines up. Okay, there we go for that side. We should probably do it over here as well, but I think this will be fine. Let's hit tab and see what that does for us. Now we can see that everything is lined up and it's uniform. Cool stuff. We might need a few more slices here just to keep it from going super rounded edge. Let's try that again. Undo, Shift K. Boom. Shift K. Boom. And let's try it like that. That's better. So now we've got some kind of lattice framework, whatever it might be, but with a little bit of creativity and some additional details. This could very easily turn into some futuristic buildings, some space station part. You could model letters like this, all kinds of different ways to take advantage of these simple tools and model in such a way that you get, kind of rounded edges, but the polyflow is really nice. And we could save this. Send it over to layout. Again, we need some surface smoothing on here. Let's take a look at it through the camera. VPR. It's cool. It's got nice soft rounded edges. And we can see that there's nice polyflow in between on those connected pieces. And of course, with the subdivision, we had it at 3. Let's crank it up to 6, and it'll get even smoother. Good looking stuff. So that demonstrates the mirror and bridge tools in Modeler and how they can be used to connect geometry and keep things lined up as well. And you got to see a little bit of freeform modeling concepts there and just a little workflow. We're going to continue on with this in future videos, so stay tuned and we'll be back in the next one. Thanks for watching.